Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day. In today's episode, I have the museum in mind, but we're not going to be working over there today. Instead, what we're going to be doing is a bit of exploring. We're going to be looking around the world for Minecraft's greatest light source. I have had a little bit of thinking to do about how exactly we are going to be lighting up some of the exhibits in the museum, and I've come to the conclusion that I need a little bit more variety and I need some stuff that is off the beaten path. We're all used to stuff like glowstone and sea lanterns being in abundant supply. We've got lanterns in the game now as well, which are fantastic light sources, and even the new soul lanterns giving us that blue glow and a slightly less bright light source. But I want to go outside the box a little bit and think about light sources that we can use in really interesting ways. And for that, we are going to look towards the Conduit for an example of an interesting light source. Now, conduits do of course need a Heart of the Sea and 8 Nautilus shells. The Nautilus shells are fine. We can get these directly from a drowned farm that I have near the museum site itself. But the Hearts of the Sea are treasure items that can only be found through buried treasure shipwrecks. However, the Conduit, once obtained, is a light source that will generate a pretty hefty amount of light. It's actually a light level 15 light source, which is as bright as, you know, a sea lantern or a beacon or anything like that. It is actually a very, very nice light source to have, and it's sub-block level and looks really interesting too. It looks kind of like a floating orb that gives off light, which I think is a really, really interesting thing to have in the museum. And it does take a little while to mine it, but you can mine them successfully, and we can obtain this and pop it down basically anywhere. And so having these kind of like floating light sources in the museum seems like a really attractive prospect to me. However, this does require, if I want to get like a stack of conduits, it's going to require me to go out and find 64 buried treasure. And so I'm going to do a bit of investigation into the buried treasure process today, because I have a feeling Minecraft is not showing you everything. In kind of a similar way to how Minecraft was concealing wood types from you in the previous episode, I think Minecraft might actually have more buried treasure than there are treasure maps to display them, or rather, that the treasure maps will often double up, leaving some of the buried treasure undiscovered. And I'm going to set out to prove or disprove that today by finding a treasure-rich environment, an area in my world where there is going to be a decent amount of buried treasure, but maybe only a couple of places I can get hold of a map, and we'll see if any of those maps duplicate. And the cool thing is, I think I've already found that place. Thanks to a website called Chunkbase, which has a bunch of functions for finding generated structures and other generated items in your world, I've plugged my seed number into it, and I've discovered that this area here, while it seems to only have a couple of shipwrecks, has a whole bunch of buried treasure around here. And so I'm going to test how accurate that is and quite how many of those treasures I am pointed to by the local treasure maps. So this shipwreck seems like a great place to start. It's right in the middle of this kind of landlocked ocean area. Let's see what we can find. So as usual, we navigate our way into the cabin. We grab whatever emeralds and lapis and stuff there is. And of course, I've forgotten to bring my respiration helmet because I'm so used to wearing this gold helmet. So let me just quickly open up my backup gear and find that netherite helmet that I never normally wear because I'm spending too much time in the nether these days. There we go. My armor set is complete again. Respiration and aqua affinity. Yes, please. We'll leave that in there for when we need it. So I've gone down and already gathered one of the chests from this, but this one here should have the buried treasure map, and that should hopefully point us to a location somewhere nearby. Yep, already it's pointing us towards the shoreline where I was giving my introduction earlier, and just buried slightly offshore, we should find this treasure. Now I'm going to take the shield out of my hand so we can look at this map in its entirety. We should just be able to line up the player indicator with the bottom couple of pixels of the X, and if we dig straight down underneath this gravel, we should hopefully find our treasure. But either way, we've found the treasure chest. There is our Heart of the Sea, and just for the sake of it, I'm going to take all of this loot and I'm going to destroy the treasure chest, because the theory goes that if you destroy these chests, they should not show up on future treasure maps. So I brought a handful of shulker boxes with me, and I'm going to put all of the treasure and stuff in there. We're going to put the Hearts of the Sea in a separate box, and in the end, we should hopefully gather a fair amount of them. And we'll take the approximate coordinates of this treasure chest, which was 1530, negative 1430. That's nice and easy to remember, and I'm going to cross-reference that with the map I've got on Chunkbase, and we'll see how many other treasures are around here. Okay, so according to my Chunkbase map, there should be about 5 or 6 other buried treasures in this area, and for a start, looking down on this ocean from above, I really can't see any more shipwrecks or anything else that will give us a buried treasure map. So that is strike one as far as I'm concerned. It looks like there aren't going to be enough shipwrecks in here to even direct me to the amount of treasure I can potentially find in this area. Which, to be honest, does make a fair amount of sense. You're not going to have 7 shipwrecks here and 7 pieces of buried treasure. I feel like that's a little bit too convenient, but what I want to know is another nearby shipwreck, and I think I may have spotted one down here, is another shipwreck going to direct us to the same patch of buried treasure? Because in my experience, a lot of these maps tend to lead back towards the same place. And I didn't find one down there, but as luck would have it, I made sure so that I could sleep for the night, and then I looked down to find this. That was possibly the luckiest shipwreck find ever. Look, I wouldn't even know it was there. That's so bizarre. Anyway, let me dig up this shipwreck here, and let's see if we can get a treasure map out of this one. We'll see if we can cross-reference it with our previous map and see if they are at all similar. Oh, we've got a diamond in the loot chest here as well. Fantastic. You know, it didn't occur to me as I was doing this that I'd also come away with a fair amount of standard loot, like diamonds and emeralds and stuff like that, which, you know, can't hurt, but the main objective here, of course, is to figure out exactly how many of these buried treasure maps we can find. There we go, we found the treasure map in this one. Gosh, it was like mining through here to get to this treasure map, and let's see what we get. Let's see what we can chuck out. Let's throw out this gravel here, for example, and let's see where this takes us. That is definitely a different buried treasure. Let's see if we can track this one down. Okay, so this treasure leads us more or less to this island here, actually, or just off the coast. I think if we end up about here, yes, this should be roughly it if we dig on down from here. And as ever, the trick to finding buried treasure is that it's never buried underneath a block which cannot be affected by gravity. So it's always going to be underneath gravel or sand or something like that. There we go, we found it. That's Heart of the Sea number 2. Couple more diamonds for our trouble as well. That's not looking too bad, actually. So, of course, from this treasure map, our first one, to this treasure map, the second one, they are obviously very different maps. However, this treasure here, let's see if we can roughly find the coordinates. Oh, be careful of that pufferfish. There we go. That is at basically 1450, 1590. And it turns out that does correlate on the map to one of the other dots that I had in this kind of treasure-rich environment that I'd found. So it looks like we are 2 for 2. Minecraft is doing pretty well at this point. Hopefully we can find the next 4, because the next 4 are actually clustered together pretty close. There is one more shipwreck over here. Looks like it'll be nice and easy to explore, not buried under the ground this time. Let's grab the buried treasure map right out of the back and swim back to the surface. Okay, once again, this is looking promising. This is another treasure that it does not look like we will have explored. Let's see if this corresponds to one of our dots on the other treasure map. And this one, bizarrely, seems to be right in the middle of this patch of ocean. Normally they generate just offshore or hopefully on some of these little islands, but it may be that Minecraft has tried to put an island here and then hasn't, or something like that. I'm not entirely certain how the terrain generation works in this aspect of it, but yeah, maybe it's just off of this island here, and the island never quite reached the top when some terrain variation was being added. Okay, so all we should need to do is hover our way down here, like so, maybe take out a couple of these sand blocks here. There we go. Perfect. Easy find. Very nice. And so that one was at 1353, 1286, which definitely corresponds to another dot on the map. We have one right in the center there. But according to the map, there should be 3 other treasures in this surrounding area pretty close by. And we'll have to see if we can find any treasure maps that correspond to those other treasures. Did you folks know that you can find buried treasure maps in drowned ruins as well? I just found this drowned ruin right here, not too far away from the shipwreck that we just looted for buried treasure maps, which I think is over there. Let's check out this map and see what we get. Oh, that looks like it might be a map to exactly the same treasure chest, so that's potentially a concern for me if it is. We'll fly on over there and see. Yep, that looks like it's in the same place, more or less. Now, did I remove the treasure chest from this location? I did break it, and it looks like we are, yeah, it's aiming us towards the exact same treasure chest, even though I have broken it. And that's a real shame. Now, this map would not actually have generated until I opened up that chest and picked up the map. It says buried treasure map, and it does not get that ID and the scaling data and everything until you pick it up and open it in the player's hand. So, in theory, if we are supposed to have gotten a brand new treasure after that, this should have pointed me to a slightly different location. And there are 3 other locations around here, according to my Chunkbase map, where that would be the case. Let me quickly find one of those for you as an example. One of them, it turns out, is even on the same axis. According to Chunkbase, at 1353, 1255, I should dig down somewhere around here. And there we go, we found another buried treasure chest instantly, and that could have very easily been pointed to by this map, but unfortunately, it looks like Minecraft has simply not generated it. That is a buried treasure that would have remained buried, and the only way I could have found that is if I was doing some sort of massive terraforming in this area or just digging around randomly, and we stumbled upon that treasure chest, which would have been a really lucky find, but Minecraft has not provided a way for me to find that chest right away, or if it was trying to when it generated this map, just the randomness and chance of it all has generated it so that it pointed me towards a treasure I'd already found. Now, the reason I chose this area is because there's another treasure chest right here, which also has another Heart of the Sea, very, very close at 1385, 1318, it's right there, and we have another treasure chest very close by at 1273, negative 1335, which should be somewhere down here. But now Chunkbase's reliability can be called into question, because here I'm at 1273, 1335, right above here. I've removed all of the blocks in the surrounding area, and it looks like we don't even have a treasure chest here, which either means I found it previously and meticulously filled it back in the way it was before, or Minecraft has not generated a treasure chest here at all. And that is, I will admit, a distinct possibility, because Chunkbase may just be reading the places that Minecraft will attempt to generate buried treasure, but is not necessarily going to succeed 100% of the time, and maybe if we found a treasure map around here, it would not lead us to this location at all. However, there are still 2 Hearts of the Sea I've been able to discover using Chunkbase, which I haven't been able to discover using buried treasure maps from this location, and some of the buried treasure maps have taken me back to the same place twice. And that definitely makes the case for us to use Chunkbase to locate these Hearts of the Sea instead of using the buried treasure maps. As you can see, that even generated a different ID number for a buried treasure map that led us to exactly the same treasure. So that's a bit of a disappointment on Minecraft's part, and I really think finding all of this loot is going to be a lot of fun. If we can use Chunkbase to track down all of the Hearts of the Sea that are in a specific area, and not just the ones that Minecraft is going to provide maps for, we will come away with more loot than we did otherwise. And while I am going to try and use the pre-generated shipwrecks and the treasure maps that we can find in there where possible, I think it's going to be worth our while to use Chunkbase to look up the locations of these buried treasures in this case, because first and foremost, we want to get a lot of Hearts of the Sea, and we're probably not going to be able to get there with just the resources Minecraft gives us. So I'm going to do a little bit more exploring today. We're going to go further and further afield looking for these buried treasures, and hopefully we should come away with a decent amount of Hearts of the Sea today. But just to illustrate my point one more time, I did raid that shipwreck right at the end of the last clip, hoping to find a new buried treasure map that would take me out in this direction. It's quite a distance from the treasures that we have just found, and I'm fairly certain that there are other undiscovered treasures in the surrounding area. But if we take a look at the 2 maps that we just looked at that were exactly identical, we've got this one here that led us to the treasure in the first place. We have this one here, which we got immediately after that, leading us to the same treasure. And the map from that shipwreck over there is, once again, exactly the same map. We have 3 different ID'd maps, all leading us to the same location. Okay, here is another test. I am a few more Hearts of the Sea in. We have 6 Hearts of the Sea so far. 1 successful find thanks to Chunkbase. 1 absolute dud where the coordinates didn't correspond to treasure at all. And I'm standing right here at 1609, negative 2935. This, according to Chunkbase, should be the location of another buried treasure. Another fun thing is that we have a shipwreck right here. And if the treasure map from this shipwreck does not lead to the treasure that is buried underneath here. I have no faith in the system whatsoever. The entire thing is broken as far as I'm concerned. So let's dive in here and take a quick look. There is our buried treasure map, as you can see, and yep, we are right on it. Okay, fair enough. So I have some faith left in the system. The faith in the system has been restored. We'll grab a little bit more treasure from that ship in a second, but now we should just be able to dig down at this more or less precise location, 1609, 2935. We are lined up pretty accurately with the treasure indicator. And there we go, we found our buried treasure just next door. Fantastic. That is Heart of the Sea number 7, and a zombie is about to fall in this hole with me. Maybe it was just a noise from the cave further down, not to worry. Well, at least we got that out of the bargain. So these treasure maps can still be trusted, of course, and I'm fairly certain that they won't point to areas where there isn't a treasure in the same way Chunkbase is doing, but still, yeah, I'm kind of happy getting more Hearts of the Sea than the treasure maps will provide me at this point. While we're at it, let's see what's in this cabin at the back. A little bit of suspicious stew and some coal. Nothing really worth grabbing from there. There are usually 2 or 3 chests in each of these shipwrecks, so there might be one down here as well. And that's got a bottle of enchanting, which will be nice to repair my elytra with because I'm doing a lot of flying around today. But bottles of enchanting really don't give you all that much experience. My elytra has 311 durability, and now it has 325. So I could fly around for a few seconds more, but that's really not going to make a huge amount of difference. Still, nothing to shake a stick at. We could always kill some more mobs if we need to, and it's time to continue the search. Hey folks, welcome back. I am home. I have just slept in my nice warm bed and I wanted to show you guys the results of that treasure hunting montage that we just went on because my elytra is torn to shreds. I basically had to come home and I haven't repaired the elytra once during that journey just by hopping through the nearest nether portal and heading to my gold farm to repair it with some XP. But we have ourselves almost a full stack of Hearts of the Sea, and considering I had one in this chest here that I made into a conduit earlier on, I think it's nice to have 63 Hearts of the Sea, making this basically a full stack of conduits for the episode. Now, unfortunately, I do need to get myself 8 stacks of Nautilus shells in order to turn all of these into Hearts of the Sea into conduits, so I think it would be a wise thing to head over to the Drowned farm in a second, get some XP hacking away at the Drowned to repair my elytra, but also get myself as many Nautilus shells as I can. And I've got hold of all of these Hearts of the Sea through a combination of using Chunkbase and using the in-game treasure maps. We have, I think, 17 treasure maps here that all ended up leading to different places, and for some reason when you log out and log back in, they return to unknown map, but once you open them up, it does show them as still having been explored. And yes, once again, a bunch of them did end up leading to the same places, which was a little bit disappointing, and I kind of hope that that system gets revised in future so they can always lead you to a unique location. Kind of difficult to tell exactly when the treasure has been found, of course, because I don't know if it's actually mapping the location of the chest or just a preset location from your world seed in the same way that Chunkbase finds all of that stuff. But I was able to find a whole bunch of these that corresponded to locations and only a couple of near misses from Chunkbase. And the reason for the misses, I think, was just that terrain generation ended up having other ideas, and it got overwritten with a natural cave or ravine or something that meant that the place the treasure chest would have been ended up getting erased. But 63 Hearts of the Sea is nothing to shake a stick at. Not only that, but we came away with a pretty huge amount of loot. I have nearly a full stack of diamonds here. We definitely have enough for a full stack of iron blocks once I condense all of these nuggets and ingots down. We have, once again, probably about half a stack or more of gold blocks, plenty of emeralds, a stack and a bit of TNT, which is also quite nice, and a fair bit of lapis, and obviously all of the cooked fish that we could want to eat. I like hunting for treasure in this game. I think it's actually a fairly rewarding activity. As long as you got the wings to do it in large quantities, you'll always come away with a pretty sizable amount of stuff. So I think I'm going to put the rest of this away, and we're going to head over to the Drowned farm to start the quest for 8 stacks of Nautilus shells. So, welcome back to the Drowned farm. Been a while since we've been here. I moved all of the Nautilus shells over to my base, so we don't have any left in here. We'll probably get a few tridents and a bit of rotten flesh and gold that we can end up trading with clerics and so forth as well. We are very, very close to the site of the museum here as well, and I want to say that this has been an interesting experiment. I think the conclusion that we can draw from this is that Minecraft is not going to tell you where the location of every single piece of buried treasure is, and it does seem like, unfortunately, a lot of the locations of those treasure maps are going to duplicate rather than point you to something new every single time. And so if you want to get the most out of the game, if you want to get as much treasure as you can possibly find, I do recommend using mapping tools like Chunkbase. It really is one of the only ways that you can guarantee finding everything that you're supposed to find. And I know some people will consider that a little bit cheaty, but ultimately, I think it's nice if you want to embark on projects like this, where I'm planning on using conduits as a light source. You're probably going to want to get hold of as many resources as you possibly can. But I'm going to spare you folks the grind of watching me get 8 stacks of Nautilus shells, and I think that is where we're going to wrap it up for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed this look at some treasure hunting, and this is a bit of a weird perspective on my face, I suppose, but don't forget to leave a like on the episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.